Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. I'm first of all offering millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarzar Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarzar Shishimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams. So today is another remarkable, most special day. We've spent the last 17 days glorifying all the wonderful places of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, which has been tremendously inspiring for the hearts of the Vaishnavas, for their inspiration towards their sadhan bhajan, and to connect more deeply with the personal conceptions of the Supreme Lord. This creates our Shraddha. Shraddha is the foundation. Wherever we are in our practice, always Shraddha is moving, always Shraddha is dynamic. Day by day, our Shraddha will become stronger. Certainly, by touching all these tremendously potent pastime places of Braj. Yesterday we went to Radha Kund, we went to Uddhav Kund, we went to Kusum Sarovar briefly, but all the time now we're staying in Giridhari Gaudiya Math. So the whole atmosphere is charged with remembrances of the Brijbasis and their pastimes and their unique, special relationship with Krishna, of always wanting to protect Krishna, wanting to nurture him, wanting to nourish him, not wanting anything from Krishna. That mood pervades all of Braj. But where do all these truths reside for us practicing sadhaks? It's in the heart of Krishna's pure devotees. So for the next 3 days, we're blessed with the opportunity to glorify Krishna's great devotees in our Rupanuga line, Rupanuga Dara. So today is the disappearance day of 2 great stalwarts in our line. That is Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Goswami Maharaj. So these 2 personalities have done such exemplary service for their beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. So today we will pray and honor them. This Vaishnava Vandanam, we will offer our worship to the Vaishnavas to beg that window of Kripa will be opened and enter our hearts and inspire us more towards our focused goal of ultimately Gopi Prem. So today we're glorifying these 2 exceptional personalities. So I'm not so conversant with so much about either of these two personalities. I met both of them a number of times and had the great fortune with Srila Vamana Maharaj to be in his presence quite a number of times. And each time it was very extremely grounding, is all I can really say. It's like the awareness of his potency, this weight of purity that enveloped this personality, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami. We would come in Devananda Gaudiya Math, and he had his room directly in front of Srila Gurudev's room, and we would circumambulate that room. The veranda went right around the room. We could circumambulate, and then he would open. He had two doors in his room, one to come in and one to go out of, and he would be sitting on his bed, usually under a mosquito net, and be sitting up straight-backed, and the devotees would just file past and offer their dandavat pranams to him. He wasn't making verbal connections with the individuals so much. When I was having his darshan, he was just looking at everybody. And when you looked into his eyes, he wore quite thick horn-rimmed glasses, but you could see his eyes, the depth of his moods behind his glasses, and it would always shatter, at least for a moment, the false ego of the sadhaks gazing at him, because he was such a grave personality. He had such gravity, such depth. I only saw him laughing or being in a jovial mood whenever he was with my Srila Gurudev, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. Then he would be chuckling very beautifully together with him. I can remember the time when Srila Gurudev first came back from his Western tour it would have been in 97. He went on his first tour in 96, but he came for the Navadvip Parikrama, Srila Gurudev, in 97. And that's when he met Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj and was relating to him the wonderment of traveling to the Western world. And all kinds of different exchanges took place, and they sat together. And Srila Vamana Maharaj was really chuckling at, I don't know what Gurudev was saying. I'm sure it would be wonderful to have found out, but he was describing all different situations in the Western world. And Srila Vamana Maharaj was smiling very happily and congratulating him on his broad vision and preaching work. So that was a very beautiful meeting that I was fortunate enough to be able to witness. And quite a number of other times Srila Vamana Maharaj came to Vrindavan during our Kartik Parikrama one year, but just stayed briefly for 3 or 4 days and would sit with Srila Gurudev on the podium and speak very sound, very beautiful Harikatha. His Harikatha was not the same mood, in a sense, of Srila Gurudev. Gurudev would speak so much about Vrindavan and the gopis. Srila Vamana Maharaj would speak, he would lace it with more direct Bhagavatam aspects, and he gave a completely balanced presentation. Of course, very often Srila Trivikrama Maharaja would be there, and he would always take completely the opposite side to my Gurudev. And even sometimes on the stage in front of Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj, he would contradict what Srila Gurudev had said. And then there would be a beautiful, loving debate between the two. So this often happened with Srila Trivikrama Maharaj. He would often ignite Srila Gurudev's debating propensity, and together they would discuss the different topics. Srila Gurudev would be always, of course, putting Srimati Radharani as the topmost personality. But Srila Trivikrama regularly put Sri Krishna as the topmost personality. So this created a very beautiful dynamic. And Srila Vamana Maharaja would be there sometimes during these debates, and he would come in with a very beautiful conclusion at the end, just to reconcile the parties. But it would always be, always in support of Srila Gurudev. Every single time. Srila Trivikrama Maharaja would have to take defeat to the both of them. So we had the fortune to witness this beautiful relationship between these three personalities who were considered the three pillars of the Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj left this world, there was great trouble within the Gaudiya Mat, and Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's, or the earliest disciple, left that group and formed his own Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti and established the Devananda Gaudiya Mat. Then these three personalities, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Maharaj, and Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, they more or less completely carried on that tradition that Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj had begun, and held that mutt completely together after the departure in 1968 of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And it was decided amongst the three of them that Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj, he would initiate everybody. And Srila Narayan Maharaj and Srila Trivikrama Maharaj, they would support that. So in his life, Srila Trivikrama Maharaj didn't accept any disciples at all. Srila Trivikrama Maharaj said one time that he wanted to die alone and unknown. He had that mood completely. He was always supportive. His whole mood was always one of support. And he would come to Braj regularly, even in his very advanced age. He would come with a stick and be walking around, and his body would certainly not be particularly strong or healthy. And yet he would come with the Parikrama party. He came when we stayed in Varshana. When we stayed in Kamyavan, he was there. When we stayed in Nandagaon, he was there. Because earlier on, when we would do these parikramas, we would stay for lengths of time in these different beautiful pastime places. We would rent dharmshalas, and we would all stay there for 2 or 3 days and we would satellite out from those places like Kamyavan, like Varshana, Nandagaon, etc. And then we would come to Govardhan. But it was definitely very austere for an older-bodied person. But Srila Trivikrama Maharaj gallantly came around with us, and he would always carry a suitcase full of different Ayurvedic medications. He was a doctor. He was a trained, qualified doctor. He was extremely materially qualified, Srila Trivikrama Maharaj. He was a wonderful musician also. He played veena, he played beautiful stringed instruments. But he never played them when he joined the mutt. But previously he was like that. And he was also an astrologer. He also understood about palmistry like this. And he was also a tailor. We used to see him knitting or sewing hats. He would make these, we call them in the Western world, Prabhupada hats. He would make these of different materials. And sometimes they would be sort of like patchworked, stuck together. But they would look very practical. They would work. They would keep him warm. Because always towards the end of Kartik it would get cold. So that was always a challenge for an older-bodied person. But Srila Trivikrama Maharaj was always very loving and supportive of all of Gurudev's disciples. But he was very exacting. He was very direct. I can remember once coming in front of him and he inquiring about my welfare, etc. And then he asked me about my family life, and I said, "Oh, my wife is fine." He said, "Oh, your wife? She is your wife?" And he just really picked up on this and challenged me, to understand that this is not the property of the husband as the way that I was presenting it. But he would be very direct in all kinds of ways. And he was very loving also, very gentle, exceptionally personal and intimate. Very easily he would would engage in a conversation with us about different topics and so on. He was very much present and very much available and he spoke fluent, beautiful English without practically any accent. He spoke very beautiful English, and he knew his vocabulary was vast, so we could engage in a comfortable conversation with him. It was very inspiring. So he would always be supportive. And of course, Srila Vamana Maharaj would be the most supportive of Srila Gurudev. He was so happy with what Srila Gurudev was doing. He was so supportive. So this in itself indicates without any tinge of envy that might exist between the Vaishnavas. Sometimes if lesser qualified Vaishnavas see another's success, they may become a little envious to some degree or not so supportive. But the three of these personalities had not even a scent of that. They were all diligently supporting the mission of their most beloved Gurudev, and all of their nishta for their Gurudev was exemplary. We would see sometimes the three of them on the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. All three would practically be weeping simultaneously at remembrances of their most beloved Gurudev. Their Guru Nishta is, to witness the pure devotee's Guru Nishta is always a confirmation of the authenticity of the devotee. When we saw in the life of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whenever he spoke about his beloved Gurudev, he would be overcome with an exceptionally beautiful mood in relationship to his Gurudev. So in scripture it's described in the Bhagavatam by Krishna directly. He says in the 11th canto, Mad Bhakta Puja Byadika Mai Sanjayate Bhakti. He says that worshipping my devotees is better than worshipping me, for by this devotion to me naturally arises. So the scripture is filled with vandanam, with glorification of the worship of Krishna's devotee. And today we have the fortune to remember these two personalities. Also in the 9th canto, Krishna is also speaking again to Durvasa Rishi. He says, Aham Bhakta Paradino Yashvatantra Ivadvija Sadubhiya Grasta Hridayo Bhaktiya Bhakta Jana Priya. That Krishna is saying directly to Durvasa Rishi, I am completely under the control of my devotees. Indeed, I am not at all independent, because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires. I sit only within the cause of their hearts. What to speak of my devotees? Even those who are devotees of my devotee are very dear to me. So Bhagavatam is flowing with quotes about the supremacy of Krishna's pure bhaktas, and to glorify those pure personalities on their appearance and disappearance days is the greatest benefit for the devotees. So today we're very fortunate to have this opportunity, and for the next 3 days, for the next 2 days now, today, tomorrow and the next day, we'll be glorifying Krishna's great devotees. By this glorification we can connect with the heart of Krishna. Krishna says again to Durvasa Rishi, he says, Sadavo Hridayam Mayam, Sadunam Hridayam Tva Aham, Mad Anyat Te Nagjananti, Naham Tebyo Manag Api. This is from the 9th canto. And this is saying the pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I am always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. So this is very beautiful confirmation of this appreciation for Krishna's pure devotees, Krishna's devotees. All devotees must be honored. There was a time when someone asked Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj about honoring the devotees, and they were questioning what happens if they're not really very good devotees. And Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, he answered, he said, Jivera Sarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. He said that everybody actually is a devotee. What to speak of those who are even practicing slightly the precepts of devotional service. Of course they must be honored nicely. And then again, Krishna's greatest devotee, Shambhu, Shivji himself, he has said to his wife, Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Smarachanam. He's saying, my dear Devi, although the Vedas mention worship of demigods and worship of Lord Vishnu is topmost and is ultimately recommended, however, above the worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of and rendering of service to his devotees, who are the object of the Lord's love. We see in the beautiful pastime of Nrsingadev with his totally surrendered bhakta, Prahlad, and Lord Nrsingadev's affection for his bhakta, how Prahlad underwent so much tribulation and hardship in faith that his beloved Ishtadev would undoubtedly protect him. And so this shows us how the devotee is completely dependent fully on the Lord. Prahlad would be thrown off cliffs, trampled by elephants, put in boiling water, etc. And yet always he was totally confident of the protection of his Lord by his Lord in every single sense. So this is very inspiring for the devotees to appreciate. Also, Krishna says, it's described in the Padma Purana, he's talking to Narad. He says, Naham Vashami Vaikunte Yoginam Hridayena Cha Madbhakta Yatra Gayanti Tatra Tishtami Narada. He says, O Narad, I do not dwell in Vaikunta, nor am I in the hearts of the yogis. I reside where my devotees glorify my name, form, qualities, and transcendental pastimes. So this is the tattva, this is the truth, this is the path to gain entrance into these subject matters we've been discussing for the last couple of weeks. Entrance into Sri Vrindavan Dham can only come with the mercy, can come by the mercy of that pure devotee. You cannot crash the gates of transcendence by your own efforts. You can only be taken by the hand through those gates and introduced to the guru of your guru, etc., etc., all the way up to Rupa Manjari or Rupa Goswami. We will be in line, gradually brought up through this way. Krishna is also saying, Ye me bhakta jana parta, na me bhaktas chate jana, mad bhaktanam chaye bhaktas, te me bhaktanatma mataha. Krishna is telling Arjuna, those who consider themselves my direct devotees are actually not my devotees. But those who see themselves as the devotees of my associates are factually my devotees. That is my opinion. So, scripture is filled with different quotes describing the position, the exalted position of Krishna's devotee. And today we are glorifying this personality, this most esteemed personality, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaja, he took his birth in such an exalted home. I'm going to read from Gurudev's description of the early life of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaja. Gurudev describes, I heard from the mouth of Srila Vamana Maharaja's virtuous and learned mother, Srimati Bhagavati Devi, that Pujapad Vamana Maharaj was born on the Krishna Paksha Navami in the month of Posha, December 23rd, 1921, in the village of Pilajanga, in the Kulahar district of East Bengal, which is Bangladesh today. His childhood name was Santosh. His father, Sri Sachichandra, took Diksha from my most worshipable spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. After Diksha, his name became Sri Sarveshwara Das Adhikari. That was his father. His mother was the disciple of the world-famous Jagat Guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So he took his birth in this family, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj. In 1930, during Srila Prabhupada's manifest pastimes, Santosh, who was about 9 years old, accompanied his mother to Mayapur to attend the Sri Gaurapunim festival at Sri Chaitanya Mat. On that occasion, his mother offered him to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, who entrusted him to the care of my Guru Padma, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, his dearmost associate. My Guru Padma's name was then Sri Vinod Bihari Brahmachari Kirti Ratna. He enrolled Santosh in the Sri Bhakti Vinod Institute in Mayapur. Sri Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada gave him Harinam initiation, and later our Gurudev named him Sri Sajan Sevak Brahmachari. So Gurudev writes in one article from the Harmonist, extensively glorifying his relationship with Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj. And I just want to read a little bit from here, describing something of his Diksha mantras and his lineage that Gurudev describes. I think it's important for us to appreciate that after Prabhupada, he writes, after Prabhupada entered his unmanifest pastimes, conflicts took place amongst the devotees in the Gaudiya Mat. Without sound reason, the opposing party jailed our most worshipable Srila Gurudev and 40 of Srila Prabhupada's senior respectable disciples. Among them were Srila Narahari Seva, Vigraha Prabhu, and Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, Sri Bhakti Kushala Nrsinga Maharaj, Pujapad Paramahamsa Maharaj, and Pujapad Rishikesh Maharaj. It was Sri Sajan Sevak alone who would bring the files regarding the case to the lawyer and go to court, as well as cook prasad and bring it to the jail for all 40 devotees. At that time, Srila Gurudev gave him the Diksha mantras, but could not perform his Upanaya Samskar, or sacred thread ceremony. Some people say that Sri Sajan Sevak Brahmachari, Sripad Vamana Maharaj, accepted Harinam and Diksha from Pujapad Bhakti Vichar Yayavara Maharaj. But the truth is that he received Harinam from Jagat Guru Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada and Diksha from my Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. At that time, Srila Gurudev had not yet received sannyas, nor was he accepting disciples. This is Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj had not received sannyas. Therefore, Pujapad Yayavara Maharaj performed Sri Sajan Sevak Brahmachari's Upanaya Sanskar, but factually Sajan Sevak was the Diksha disciple of our Gurudev. So that's his line. He took Harinam from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and he took his Diksha mantras from Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And there are so many glorifications of his dedicated service. There's one pastime that Gurudev relates. He says, once a large number of devotees attended some special occasion at the Sri Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti Center in Bospard Lane, but somehow no one was available to cook for them. Sri Sajjan Sevak Brahmachari was ill with 103-degree fever at that time. Still, Srila Guru Maharaj came to him and instructed him to rise from bed and cook. He immediately did so, and afterwards served the visiting Vaishnavas prasad. By this he demonstrated that in the service of his Gurudev he did not even care for his life. Shortly after this incident, his good health returned. So Srila Gurudev would often relate this story about his dedicated, focused service. Gurudev describes about his preaching in the villages of Bengal. He says, upon completion of the Sri Devananda Gaudiya Mat's Sri Mandir, the temple hall in Sridham Navadvip, Srila Gurudev sent Pujapad Vamana Maharaj out to preach with some brahmacharis. They went to towns and villages in 24 parganas in the south of West Bengal. Pujapad Vamana Maharaj endured many hardships in reaching out to the people and distributing the message of Mahaprabhu in remote areas, particularly in Kakadvip and the Sundarbans. When he preached, he demonstrated an extraordinary capacity to tolerate severe difficulties. He would always offer respect to others in full humility, and he could expertly refute any misconceptions about the absolute truth. Our beloved Srimati Uma Didi, she relates personally how Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj never once requested anyone to give him any comment on his classes or on his writings. He would never ask or inquire whether they liked it or they didn't like it, or whether he was speaking sufficiently or anything of that nature. His humility was totally unsurpassable in this area. He was only dedicated to preaching the mission of his beloved Gurudev, and only the pleasure of his beloved Gurudev was the only thought in his mind. Whether people in general made his teachings popular or not was not his concern at all. He was simply interested in pleasing his Gurudev exclusively. Nevertheless, it's described that he would have the art of speaking sweetly while refuting bogus philosophies. He was able to do like that. He was a completely pure Vaishnava. So he was witnessing Krishna in the heart of all who came before him, and he would encourage and inspire and water that seed of devotion within everyone who came in his proximity. Gurudev writes about advocating bhajan in the mood of Radha Dasyam. Now Gurudev is relating what I've already touched on. He said, sometimes, especially during Navadvip Parikrama, Pujapad Trivikrama Maharaj and I would have loving quarrels. They would take place on stage in public. He would cut my arguments and I would cut his. Once, in the course of one such quarrel, I presented Madhurya Ras according to the conception of Sri Rupa Goswami. My point was that on the strength of their service to Sri Radha, her maidservants, dasis, do not even care to serve Krishna. And I quoted one shloka, Na paryeham niravadya samyujam. Krishna is saying, O gopis, even if I lived as long as Lord Brahma or any other demigod, I would not be able to repay my debt to you. In Gita Govinda, we see that when Srimati Radhika is in Man, Krishna says, "Oh dearest Radhika, I will never offend you like that again. Please forgive me." And also in Gita Govinda, Smaragarala Kandanam, Mama Sirasi Mandanam, Dehi Padapalavam Udaram. My beloved, offer the fresh buds of your enchanting feet as an ornament upon my head. Therefore, in the eyes of Tattva, Sri Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, but due to the excellence or superiority of Ashraya Jatiya Prem, the Prem experienced by devotees, he becomes indebted to Srimati Radhika and begs for alms of forgiveness. Pujapad Trivikrama Maharaj refuted my statements and established the Bhagavata, or godliness and importance of Sri Krishna. In this way there ensued sweet debates between us. Pujapad Vamana Maharaja, the chairperson of that assembly, witnessed our loving quarrels and spoke in conclusion, Radha Paksha Chati ye jana se jana, ye bhave se bhave take ame te radhika paksha pati sada. I am exclusively in the group of Sri Radhaji. I become happy when she is happy, and when she is sad, I become sad. This is the vikar, or conception, of the Rupanugas, the followers of Sri Rupa Goswami. Performing bhajan with the inclination to serve Srimati Radhika is the best type of bhajan. It cannot be said that no one is qualified to perform this kind of bhajan. In this world, there is always a Rupanuga Vaishnava who is capable of doing such bhajan. Past, present and future, there will always be someone with this qualification. To say otherwise is incorrect, because the world would face destruction if it lacked the presence of such a qualified person. So his philosophical perspective made a substantial impression on the audience. So Pujapad Srila Vamana Maharaj, he would speak at great depth on these Rasik topics, but not so much publicly. There were different times in different occasions when he would speak very intimately about these topics, but he didn't open the whole discussion so much publicly, and he maintained a very powerful, grave platform for all people to take shelter of this philosophy and gradually evolve to such a state of consciousness where they would be able to confidentially absorb these topics more fully. So today we are so blessed with these two powerful personalities. We see how, first of all, Srila Trivikrama Maharaj, he left this world on this day, and then I think it was about 2 or 3 years later, on the same day, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj, he chose to leave this world on that same day. The Vaishnavas, they can leave at whatever time they desire to leave. They are not controlled by the material energy as our conditioned souls. So he demonstrated this. We were all very much afraid that our beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, would also leave on this same day. And I can remember in the final parikrama of 2010, when Srila Gurudev was most incapacitated, we were all really holding our breath on this day, thinking, oh my God, will our Gurudev leave on this day? And he didn't. He left on the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj. In honor of Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, he chose to leave just exclusively in his honor, to honor him, Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaj was certainly the Shiksha Guru. When Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj first came to the temple, he came one night late into the Navadvip railway station, and he hadn't told a single soul the train he was catching. He didn't even know which train he was going to catch until he got to the station. And of course they didn't use telephones so much in those days. And when he arrived in the night on the platform, there was Sajan Brahmachari Sevak was there with a lantern calling out, Tiwariji, Tiwariji, who is what was Gurudev's name at that time. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj would call him Tiwariji because his father was Tiwari. So he would call him Tiwariji out of respect for his father's line. And Srila Gurudev, he asked Srila Vamana Maharaj, how did you know I was coming on this train and you came here with the lantern? I would never have been able to find my way to the mutt. And Srila Vamana Maharaj replied, oh, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj told me which train you were coming on and directed me to come here. So everything was completely arranged by Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, who of course is completely linked to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who is totally linked to Srila Gokishodas Babaji, who is totally linked to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is totally linked to all our Rupanuga Guru Vargya. So on this day, especially, we glorify all our Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and we pray to also be linked in this most auspicious line and receive the current of their devotion, of their bhakti to their Ishtadev, Srimati Radhika. And we pray that by coming on this parikrama and hearing the glories of these personalities, that some light will be inspired within our heart to follow their exemplary examples of practice of this path during their lives. Without the personalities to follow, how will we know what is correct behavior and what is not correct behavior? What will please Krishna and what will not please Krishna? It's only by following these personalities that we can have any idea of what will bring pleasure to Krishna. This is our ultimate goal. So today I'm begging deeply for the mercy of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Srila Trivikrama Maharaj to please bless me with a particle of devotion that they inspired in the hearts of so many sadhaks. Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Maharaj Goswami ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. So now our Bhaktivedanta Tapasvi Maharaj will say a few words in glorification of Srila Vamana Maharaj and Srila Trivikrama Maharaj. Hari Bol.
All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. As we have already heard, today is the disappearance day of two great Vaishnavas that some of us had the opportunity to have their darshan, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Maharaj. I wanted to speak from a lecture that Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, our Gurudev, on the 10th of November in 2007, he spoke. And this is what Srila Narayan Maharaj spoke. Because there was an organization that Srila Narayan Maharaj had organized a separation festival, VRAJA-Mahotsav, for both of them. And he called on different disciples to speak. And Gurudev also spoke. For the great soul, there is no difference between his appearance and disappearance days. Today, this is Maharaj speaking, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Today, we will discuss the glorious character of Param Pujapad Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj and Param Pujapad Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Goswami Maharaj. And the devotees will offer their Pushpanjali. According to the degree of love and affection towards someone, one will experience that much separation for a person. The gopis had so much affection for Krishna, and that is why they felt so much separation when he went to Mathura. We have read about the various stages of their separation in the Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures. Similarly, the more one is attached to Sri Gurudev's lotus feet, the more separation one will feel in his absence. We see the topmost example of this in the life of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, who had so much affection in his heart towards his Shiksha Guru, Sri Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. What was the condition of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami when their pastimes became unmanifest in this world? He saw Giriraj Govardhan like a python. All of Vraj seemed empty to him and appeared like the mouth of a very ferocious tiger. Due to his love and affection, this is how he described his separation from Sri Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. According to how much affection you have towards your Gurudev's lotus feet, that much separation you will feel. You must understand that the devotee who feels separation from his Guru is very elevated in bhakti, and he will soon attain the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. Without Gurudev's mercy, this is not possible. I have spent more than 60 years with Pujapad Srila Bhaktivedanta Vamana Goswami Maharaj and Pujapad Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikrama Maharaj. We had a very special relationship, and we were related in so many different ways. I had first-hand opportunity to observe their Guru Seva. I directly saw how Srila Vamana Maharaj was ready to give his life for his Gurudev. And I understand how my Gurudev used to feel indebted to Srila Vamana Maharaj for his service. When Srila Vamana Maharaj's hand was caught in the printing press, Srila Guru Maharaj wept, and he travelled with Srila Vamana Maharaj to the hospital in Kolkata. When you see Sri Guru crying for his disciple, you can then understand that his affection towards that disciple is very deep. I have seen that if there was work which involved a lot of responsibility, my Gurudev would not give that work to me or to Srila Vamana Maharaj, but to Srila Trivikrama Maharaj, and he would not take it easily. He would argue and ask questions, and then he would accept that work and complete it. Srila Gurudev always saw Srila Vamana Maharaj as a small child because he came to the mutt at a young age. But Srila Vamana Maharaj was expert in performing all kinds of services. From his example, we should take all great inspiration in how he served non-stop and always brought pleasure to his spiritual master and the Vaishnavas. Srila Gurudev entrusted the more responsible services to Srila Trivikrama Maharaj, not because Srila Vamana Maharaj was not qualified, but because Gurudev gave that opportunity to Srila Trivikrama Maharaj, who joined the mutt when he was in his mid-20s. I observed the character of Srila Vamana Maharaj. I saw how he has served Srila Gurudev. There was nothing he would not do. If someone wants the ability to perform bhajan and service of Sri Guru, he should learn from the life of Srila Vamana Maharaj. Unless and until one has such firm faith in Guru, he cannot perform bhajan. Whenever Srila Gurudev went for preaching, I would come along with Srila Trivikrama Maharaj and Srila Vamana Maharaj. For 60 years I had the fortune to reside with Srila Vamana Maharaj. How many days have you, Srila Vamana, he's talking to Srila Vamana Maharaj's disciples who were in the audience. How many days have you remained with him? You have been with him only for a few years and from a great distance. I lived with him as a friend, and our lives were so intimately connected that we were like two bodies with one soul. I have seen some of my Gurudev's character in Srila Vamana Maharaj, and he helped me write my Gurudev's biography. Before I met my Guru Maharaj, I was never second to anyone in running. I was a very good athlete, and Srila Vamana Maharaj used to walk a lot. But when Srila Gurudev used to walk while residing in various temples, both of us remained behind him. We could not keep up with him because he would walk so swiftly. Being with Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Vamana Maharaj and I used to work in the kitchen and engage in many other services. We used to clean the pots in those days and also write sometimes. We worked at the printing press, publishing Guru Maharaj's books. We also travelled with Guru Maharaj when he went to various places for preaching. We were engaged in so much service. I learned so much from both Srila Trivikrama Maharaj and Srila Vamana Maharaj. They are my Shiksha Gurus. What can I tell you about their glorious character? I remain always indebted to them. I can never become free from their debt. At the time of Navadvip Parikram, there used to be thousands of pilgrims, and all of them would come to meet Srila Gurudev. He would speak to all of them, and Srila Vamana Maharaj with a paper and pen in his hand was near him. While the large darshans would be going on, Srila Vamana Maharaj would ask Srila Gurudev to speak something for the publication in the Gaudiya Patrika magazine. And Srila Gurudev would say, "Okay, take a pen." He would then speak fluently for a few minutes, and at which time Srila Vamana Maharaj would write 3 or 4 pages, and whatever he wrote would not need to be corrected. When we write, corrections and editing must be done. But this was not the case with Srila Vamana Maharaj. Just after taking notes and writing the articles on the same day, the magazine would go to the press, and the next morning we would offer it to Lord Nrsimhadev. In this way, Srila Gurudev and all the devotees who assisted him used to publish the Patrika. Srila Trivikrama Maharaj was also a very good cook, and he was always very renounced. He would almost always wear simple clothes, one cloth even, which would reach to just above his knees, and a sleeveless shirt, not more than that. He was always serving Vaishnavas and living very simply. In this way he spent his life. Gaura Premanandi Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Maevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo